How you doing, YouTube? Matt with Massive Beer Reviews. Back to another review. A little bit of canned, local, hopeful goodness in the form of Pocono Brewing Company. It is their Wally Wilson American IPA. Pocono Brewing Company. Actually been around for quite a while in my area. But they're kind of under different, I don't know what you call it. Actually making beer now. Let's put it that way. It was kind of like one of those weirdo fake kind of brew pubs. Its original intent was to be a brew pub, but it never became one. It just had some fake tanks, and I bought some beer from a local brewery, and it was kind of one of those kind of brew pubs that existed everywhere in the 80s and 90s and whatnot. A couple of years ago, under new ownership, actually brought it into being an actual brewery, and for the past year, they've been producing liquid out of it, and yeah, they just started canning stuff. I actually got an email from the head brewer there, and he said, hey man, he's like, I'd love to toss you some cans, let me know what you think. And I said, absolutely. So here we go. As far as what it says on here, like I said, Wally Wilson American IPA. It's an all-season India Pale Ale, Pocono Brewing Company. Deriving its name from Wilsonville, a town that now lies in the bottom of Lake Wallenpaupack, which is a lake up by me. It's just a huge man-made lake. It says the Wally Wilson IPA floods taste buds with tropical hop notes. It's bold, bitter, like the forgotten town. Its only remnant is an old church steeple that, according to local legend, can be seen during a dry spell. Swiftwater, PA, that'd be that. Likewise, it's very old school. Not my favorite kind of labeling, but especially in today's kind of world with the kind of geometric canned stickerness, it doesn't really stand out that much. So not necessarily my favorite art in the world, but at the same time, the beer is good. That's all that matters. So yeah, little 12-ounce cans. You don't see them that often. As far as dating goes, I don't see a date on here, but you know, they came from the brewery, and I know they do like short little in-house canning. They have their own canning line. They do little canning runs, so I assume she is relatively fresh. 6.8% alcohol by volume. What do we have here? Definitely darker than what you expect from the IPAs you see nowadays. The rich kind of golden color looks more like a lager than it does an IPA. Crisp, clear, beautiful kind of carbonation. A nice kind of creamy head, kind of khaki in color, almost 2 fingers worth. Yeah, if you poured this and said, what kind of beer is this? Honestly, I'd go with some kind of lager. I'd probably go lager on this, or maybe like a Marzen or some kind of Oktoberfest. Definitely doesn't look like an IPA. It looks a little bit more malt forward. So, let's see if I can get a nose on her. Yeah, she kind of smells a little bit more malty than hoppy, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm just getting a big, rich maltiness with a little bit of kind of soft, semi-sweet citrus bittering, but that's pretty much it. It's just kind of a more of a kind of caramelly, light, not too in your face, but caramelly malt with a bit of kind of soft bitterness around it. Yeah, doesn't smell much like an IPA. Let's dive in, see what she's got. Cheers. Tastes like an IPA. Tastes like a malt forward IPA. Tastes like a very old school kind of IPA. It actually does kind of taste like an Oktoberfesty beer that's been extra hopped, like a hop forward kind of Marzen. It's got a really nice kind of creaminess to it. And the bittering comes off old school. Very kind of herbally, spicy, teabag style stuff when you're talking about like just basically old school hops. A lot of your kind of fugly kind of old school C kind of hops with a nice kind of malt base to it with this kind of creamy thing. Now, I like the creamy portion of the show. I like the way the hops are showing, and the malt portion of the show kind of is good. The beer in itself is relatively clean. It's not badly made, but I don't think it's an IPA. And off the get, I was like, okay, it tastes like an IPA. It's just hoppy. So it's more of a hop forward, German style, like again, go back to a Marzen. It's more like that than an IPA. that's not a bad thing. I can get down with some of that stuff. One of my favorite beers, more specifically aged, they did in Kugels actually did in their kind of scratch series. I forget what it was called. They did an Imperial Oktoberfest that was extra hopped, and I really enjoyed that. So I can get down with that kind of mixture. It just doesn't really come off much like an American IPA or an India Pale Ale, if you will. Just comes off kind of like a hoppy, kind of malty beer. It's not a bad thing. Beer's made well. There's not much as far as negativity there. There's no kind of, you know, buttery this or kind of cream corny that, but in and of itself, not really an IPA. So not that I'm a BJCP nerdy kind of guy, but at the same time, when you tell me you're giving me an IPA, kind of want an IPA. So let's talk about it. It's one of the better IPAs that I've had as of late. I'm going to have to say no just because it's not an IPA. Fun, tasty, well done, well-made beer, just not an IPA. Value and availability, you know, it's Pocono Brewing Company. I don't think they do any can distribution at this point, but they usually have cans to go at the brewery and leave you with, if you like, what will you like this beer. If you like Oktoberfest beers, but you wish there was a little bit more hops in your life, or if you're like really old school kind of IPAs, like British IPAs, it's like I said, it's like an American IPA had a baby with a Marzen that had a baby with a bitter. You know, it's kind of somewhere more nose kind of vein than anything else. So if you're going into it looking for an IPA, old school or even new school, you're not really going to get that. But what you're going to get is decently made beer that's showing a nice old school kind of hoppiness and has this kind of nice, kind of creamy, kind of nitro-y English bitter kind of Marzen thing going on that, you know, labeled it differently, it'd probably work really well for Oktoberfest. So there you go. Another review in the books down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers, type that into Google, and you'll find me doing all kinds of stuff in the social medias. If you want to see me doing my podcasting, you can go on the social medias, or the Googs, and type in Beer Massive, M-A-S-S-I-F, and check me out doing all kinds of brewer interviews and stuff like that. And there you go, another review down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice hoppy forward beer right now. It's hop forward, not hoppy forward. It'd be either hoppy or hop forward. You know what I mean. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.